considerations of quality of life have traditionally been subordinate to the need for jobs. Newsnight has visited the small town of Grangetown, sandwiched between ICI's Wilton Works and the British steel plant at Blackendey. Some 20,000 jobs have been shed around the town in the past 2 decades, but the local community still lives in the shadow of huge industrial plants. And what's there already will soon be joined by the world's biggest gas-fired power station. Mark Easton reports from a town where some inhabitants feel it's time to redraw an equation they think pits jobs against the quality of life.
Saturday night in Grangetown is free and easy night at the Legion Club. If you want to stand up and sing, you're free to do just that. Outside, heavy industry is humming. It's a traditional duet dating back 100 years when Grangetown was built to provide homes for the men at the steel mills. But today, the harmony is threatened. The steel plant's still there, joined by a huge ICI plastics factory. But now almost a third of men here are out of work. The town's been described as the most polluted in Western Europe, and people's health is so bad that local doctors compare it to working in a third world country. Jim Murphy could be described as the physical embodiment of Grangetown's predicament. After 40 years labouring in the steel mills, he now lives alone, racked by chronic bronchitis. And without the nebulizer machine his friends from the Legion Club bought him, he'd never leave his bed. Jim believes the industry which gave him work will take his life.
If I don't go on that nebulizer, I'm jiggered. I can't get me wind. I can't hardly breathe. If I'm on the nebulizer, I'm all right, you see. Once your chest gone, that's it, isn't it? You don't know what's coming out all the night. You don't know what's coming out in the dark when it's dark. You don't know. Nobody knows that. I couldn't go up there and walk past there. It'd kill me, that. Kill me.
They call the pollution NOx, SOx and ROx. Nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides and the solid emissions, mostly graphite and iron oxide. More than 70 tons of industrial dust landed on Grangetown last year, the highest density in the county. Industry points out that pollution levels are officially monitored by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Pollution and fall well within legal limits. Details of all their operations are given to the Health and Safety Executive, environmental health officers and local councils. But the people in its shadow remain unconvinced. This is Bolko Road in Grangetown, enjoying unobstructed views of both the steel plant and the chemical works. If you live here, you're likely to die 10 years younger than people just 5 miles up the road. More than half the men in the street are either unemployed or, as they say, on the sick. In these few council blocks alone, a dozen people are being treated for asthma, eczema or chronic bronchitis. At number 77 Bolko Road is Dr. Nigel Robson's surgery. When he first came here 20 years ago, he was shocked by the amount of chest disease he encountered. He's still alarmed today. New health authority figures have revealed that in Grangetown, 3 times as many people are dying from bronchitis and asthma as statisticians had expected.
Clearly it's a very unhealthy area to live in. I mean, asthma is a real worry for patients. The incidence of night calls in this area, and a lot of those reflect asthma trends. Asthma is one of our sort of high call-out illnesses. The incidence of call-outs in this area is something like 3 times the national average.
Dr. Robson accepts there's no proven link between pollution and his patients' ill health. There could be many reasons. But he does know that there's a higher incidence of childhood asthma in Grangetown than most parts of the country. There has been one change in the past year or so, though. His patients aren't just getting ill, they're getting angry.
My name, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for coming.
Right.
People like Helen Campbell, whose 3-year-old son, Sean, suffers violent asthma attacks. When he was born, she blamed bad luck for his condition. As he's got older, she's started blaming the air that they breathe.
Very angry. Very, very angry. I mean, it's... When you walk outside, it's, you know, there's works, there's ICI and British Steel on one side and buses and smoke and everything, you know, people smoking and things like this. You know, it's just one big smoke.
The concept some of the people is that is it due to the policy?
It was the frustration of people like Helen Campbell which finally decided local doctors that Grangetown needed more than a reassuring bedside manner. The region's director of health and the community paediatrician called an emergency meeting to diagnose the town's ills and try to prescribe a cure.
More people dying prematurely, or more people with respiratory diseases, high unemployment. Isn't it very similar to a third world country? I mean, the picture I've just given you, probably people would argue, well, this is a picture from a third world country.
The doctors accept that a significant factor in Grangetown's ill health is not pollution, but poverty. And they worry that if industry was to leave, the town's situation would be worse.
You could say that our population here is particularly vulnerable because not only do they breathe very dirty air, but they also have rather bad houses, which are damp and full of allergens. Their diet is frequently deficient in protective things like vitamins and minerals, for example.
The danger that pollution has given, it has, in a sense, created a smokescreen that the local population are tending to hide behind